We're going to be starting a new simon today, right after Tisha B'Av. Hayoim Kotzer, Malacha Meruba. A lot to get done in a little bit of time. We have the triple combination, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Sukkot is coming up. We're going to start with Rosh Hashana. In the past years, we've learned together Siman Tavkov Pei Aleph as well as Siman Tavkov Pei Gimel, which deals with the halachas of the Haseres Meichuva, Slichos. Tavkov Pei Aleph, Tavkov Pei Gimel deals with uh, the Simonim on Rosh Hashanah, the eating, the napping, some other very important halachas, minhagim, which we discussed over there at length. Today we're going to undertake a new simon, territory that we never stepped on, which is simon Tavkuf Pei Dalad. We're going to skip temporarily Tavkuf Pei Beis. We're definitely going to come back to it though. Mitzvah Hashem. Give a brief introduction of simon Tavkuf Pei Dalad. There are around a dozen different, very relevant halachas. This is one of the simonim in Shulchan Aruch that very few people properly learn. Basic topic of the simon is dealing with the davening on Rosh Hashanah. Kind of ironic, perhaps unfortunate, that people spend hours and hours davening, but yet people don't spend 2 minutes about learning the halachas of the davening on Rosh Hashanah. Kind of reminds me of people on average spend around 40,000 hours working, don't spend around 10 hours learning where to put the money that they make and how to invest it properly. But anyways, that's another topic. But it's the same exact idea. So, yes, halachas do exist about davening and about leaning in Rosh Hashanah, and we're going to be tackling that. We're going to be talking about also, let's say there's a bris on Rosh Hashanah. When is the Mila and why? Okay. We're going to discuss about the time of davening, how long we do it, selling aliyos, where does that come from? We're going to talk about who would get the aliyos. Let's say the chazan, person who's the Baal Tokeya, is going to be blowing shofar. Going to be talking about some of the hashkafas of the day which come out from the davening, which is basically we don't do halal on Rosh Hashanah. Why? Right? So we know the well-known answer because it's the day of judgment, and you don't want it. Okay, so if that's so, then why are we feasting? Right? We should be fasting. So we seemingly have conflicting halachas which have to be reconciled. We're going to deal with that. There's around a dozen different topics. Avinu Malkeinu, right? Shabbos, not Shabbos. How about this? When Chazor Sashatz is going on, right? From the letter of the law, I'm not talking about lichatchila, what's preferable to do. I'm talking about the basic letter of the law. Someone goes over and says, Rabbi, just tell me the bare minimum. What do I need to do? Okay. What's the bare minimum? Do you have to stand for Chazor Sashatz or not? Pretty relevant halacha, right? What is exactly Chazor Sashatz? All of these halachas we have to figure out when the Aron Kodesh is open or not. Do you have to stand? Should you stand? Where does that come from? So there's definitely going to be a lot to deal with over here in the simon. Approximate time frame, I think we'll have around 10 sessions on the simon. It's a relatively short simon. You open up a Mishnah Berurah, it's around 2-3 pages. But when you learn it properly, it definitely takes time. So we are going to now begin with the Torah, as we usually do. Okay, the Torah opens up the simon. Simon Tovkov Pei Dalad. Shachris mashkimin lebeis hakneses umesadrin habrochus v'koirin hazmirois kederach shoymen b'Shabbos. In the morning, we wake up early to go to shul, and we order the brachos, and we say the zmiros like we do on Shabbos. So the obvious question on this tour is, what's this language of mashkimin? Usually, as most Orthodox Jews know, we get up a little later to go to shul on Shabbos and Yontif, and for reasons, at least it's a whole other discussion of itself. Does that apply Shabbos, a regular Yontif? But over here, the Torah clearly uses a language. Mashkim, you get up early. We're getting up early for. Usually on Yontif, we get up later. So hold that question. All right, so we get up early, etc. And then the tour continues, and he talks about, we say Shema with the brachas, like we daven the rest of the year. Fine, that's easy. Umachzir shliach tzibur hatvilo bekavanu benachas. And the chazan, he does chazar sashatz. Right, he repeats the Shemona Esrei, bekavanu with proper intention, ubenachas and slowly. That means question is, what is this doing in the halachas of Rosh Hashanah? We know this is what happens every single day, right? We have the Manishtana, Halayla Zeh, Mikol Leilas. Like, what's different Rosh Hashanah the rest of the year? Right? We always do Chazar Sashatz. The Torah says Benachas, slowly. Mila b'mila, word for word. Word for word.
Does that mean the rest of the year you can go fast?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm bevorning over here, right? What does this mean over here? Mila b'mila. There's a story we said over in the Parsha. Parsha Sekiv, actually, this week's Parsha in the past. So the story of a Yid goes up to Shemayim, and he hears a voice that calls up to him, calls out. And the voice goes, wait, 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 wait. The guy goes, what is that? What'd you say? Can you repeat that slower? He goes, wait, 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 wait. We know, people by us in New York, they talk very fast, but he still can't make out what is he saying. So he hears the voice again, wait, 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 wait. And he goes, what's going on? And the voice says, that's what you sounded like every single day. I didn't understand the word that you davened, the word that you said. And he bracha. That's why we got to slow it down, guys. It's a great story, but you got to apply it. Anyways, the kol hatzibur yechavnu lama shoimer shliach tzibur v'lo yasichu sicha b'deila. And everyone has to listen in the congregation to what the chazan is saying, and don't talk about sicha b'deila. Wasteful words. So obviously, everyone, we're all lamdanim over here, we could come up with a deal. The Torah says you can't talk during Rosh Hashanah, specifically on Rosh Hashanah, the rest of the year you could. No, you can't. Okay? That's explicit in Siman Kufkov Dalid. The Shulchan Aruch already says that his sin is too great to bear. God will want him. So he talks about it. You rebuke the guy, all terrible. All right, we'll learn about that again when we get to it. We already actually covered that Siman, but
yeah, the Lamdanim can learn that you could learn during this time then, no?
You could have learned during which time?
Chazar Sashatz here on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, because he's
Where
saying...
we say you can learn during Chazar Sashatz?
I guess you can't.
How are you going to learn? Yeah, you can't learn, right?
You have to sit and listen.
Yeah, you got to listen, of course, 100%. 100%. Right? Comes along the Torah then, and he wraps it up over here, the Sif, by saying, V'ein oimrim hal Rosh Hashanah v'yom Kippur. Davening's pretty long on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but it could be longer. Where did the halal go? Why don't we do it? So there's the Gemara that we've quoted a dozen times in different contexts. Is usually al derech Josh and Parsha Divrei Torah and Yamim Tovim. Damar Rabbi Avo Amr Malch Shodas Leva Kodesh Baruch Hu Banu Shalom Ema Mim Yisrael Shira. Such a good question that the angels asked this question to Hashem. Where did the halal go? Why don't we sing? Ma in Oimim Yisrael Shira. Why don't they sing? By the way, how can we do Shir Shal Yom Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur if we don't do Shira? How could you do Az Yashir? Hold that question. Hashem responded back, Din, is it possible I'm going to sit on the throne of judgment? The chair of judgment. Sifrei Chaim, Sifrei Mesim, Lafara, and if talking to Yisrael, Yoimru Shira. The book of the living, the book of the dead is going to be wide open. And now the Jews are going to be singing? They're going to be singing? How can you sing in a time like this? This is Din v'cheshbon. As it says in the Shmois Rabbah, Oy lanu miyoim adin, oy lanu miyoim adosacha. That was when Yosef said, Ani Yosef od avichai. Hashem's going to reveal himself. Ani Hashem. Point is that there's a few explanations on this Gemara what this means. Simple explanation is, like we say in the Masana Toikev, mi yechem mi yomas. Hashem will figure out who's going to live and who's going to die that year. And then we get judged on everything. Everything. Not just our existence, but our sustenance, our everything in the world gets judged. Every single detail. Right? Another explanation is that even after a person dies, based on how he left the world, he could either be causing a positive or negative ripple effect. So even people who are already dead are getting judged again based on the effect that they caused in the world, whether positive or negative. Then the Torah basically quotes the boring stuff, which every Baal Korah needs to know, or Gabbai of a shul, which is we take out two Sifrei Torah. All right, we have five Aliyahs, and we learn about Sodah, of course, because it has to do with childbirth, which is when this Rosh Hashana time significance happen over there. And if it's Shabbos, of course, we do seven aliyos. Right? And at the end, we lean Sefer Shmuel, which of course also has to do with Chana, a woman who was barren, as we know, and ended up giving birth to Shmuel. Okay. That's the Torah. Any questions, comments thus far?
So when we say Shira, Shira specifically means Hallel, not just singing.
Well, we are going to have to discuss what exactly does Shira mean, because seemingly, if we say you can't say Shira, that means Az Yashir is out the window. And as we know, we certainly do say Az Yashir. Right?
A lot of congregations sing, on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur.
Sing what, Az Yashir? Oh, sing
We're
in
saying
general.
singing in general.
Right, right. So we have to define exactly what is the mohus. What is Shira? What really means a song, right? But we can't translate that literally, because if it does mean that, then you can't say the Shir Shal Yom. You can't say Az Yashir, and perhaps you can't even sing at all in Rosh Hashanah. So we have to figure out exactly where does that come from. Let's start with one of my favorite commentaries on the Torah, which unfortunately very few people learn in this generation. People don't even know a word of Torah that he says. But the Bach. The Bach is just so enjoyable. People just learn the Bach. They will connect to Hashem so much. It's just so beautiful, the Bach. Bach opens up the Simon by asking the obvious question on the Torah. Gemara Megillah says in Chav Gimel, Afal Gad de Beperek Akar Oime Danya B'Yom Tov Ma'achron Lava Maharon Lotzis. On Yom Tov, we delay the start time of when davening begins. We start late, okay? And we actually don't try to stretch it out. Interestingly enough. So why then, asked the Bach, does the Torah say that on Rosh Hashana we get to shul early? Why? Peter Shashi. Achron Lavoid Lebeisa Knesses. Why do we come late to shul? Okay. So Rashi answers, you need to burden yourself with the meal of Yom Tov. Who remembers, by the way, the Yabetz's explanation of this Rashi in Megillah? I'm going to just ask the question even better. Who remembers what is the explanation of this Rashi that we delay coming to shul on Yom Tov because we need to burden ourselves with preparing the Suda. The women are making the Suda. They don't go to shul anyways. They're watching the kids. They're making the Suda. Who remembers the Yabetz's answer?
Don't remember.
You don't remember. -1.
Huh,
-1. It's okay.
I don't know.
It's all right. You don't remember. Okay. The answer is because the husband's got to step up. Father's got to step up, help out with the kids. Woman ain't gonna be able to cook when she's watching all the kids. They're gonna get out of control. You gotta watch them, make sure they're not involved with activities that they shouldn't be doing. So therefore, that's why Zok the Yabeitz, the Gemara and Megillah says that we delay coming to shul on Yom Tov. Why? Because the husband's got to step up and help watching the kids. Unbelievable pshat. That is the pshat. You can't say another pshat, by the way. Dr. Bach weiter. Okay, so now that we've established we come late to shul on Yom Tov, okay, and we get out of shul early because you want to be involved with the happiness of Yom Tov, aka be involved with the Kashmir Shabo, right? An oinig, you have to enjoy it. So you're Leila Rabbeinu, Torah told the Inze Ella b'shalosh regalim. That Gemara Megillah, that's talking about the Shalosh Regalim. So we're talking over here Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Shenitnu l'sasun l'simcha. Because the Shalosh Regalim, they were given at a time to rejoice. And here's the Bach's punchline, which has directly to do with the Mahus and the Hashkafas of Rosh Hashanah. Here's if I could over here, it's only highlighted, but I would double underline this. Aval Rosh Hashanah sheha'olam nidun bo. Rosh Hashanah, the entire world gets judged. Everything is determined what will happen. Every single blade of grass, will it live? Will it die? Every single thing in this world gets judged. Umiksas geoinim kosvu, the toiv lehesanos. Some Gaonim Taka say that you should fast on Rosh Hashanah. It's good to fast. Toiv lehisanos bo. Even though we certainly don't hold that way, we don't fast on Rosh Hashanah. Nevertheless, Mikol Mokaim Einu Hogun Laharbis Besuda. Oh, here's the big line of the Bas. It is not proper to have a lot of meals on Rosh Hashanah. In other words, Rosh Hashanah isn't about sitting around and eating for 3 hours straight, 4 hours straight. It's exactly what Rosh Hashanah is not about. All the Yom Tovim, that's something
Wait,
else.
so why should the woman?
What'd you say?
No, so the woman she should spend a lot of time with the suitor. It's more important for her to do other you know
That's the point.
do other stuff.
You don't want to spend too much time with the Suda. That's the point. You don't want to spend too much time with the Suda. That's the difference between Rosh Hashanah and the other Yom Tovim, by the way. That's exactly what he's saying. Rosh Hashanah is a serious time when the entire world gets judged. Vod,
It's only Sukkot. Oh, Sukkot and Shavuos.
yeah, Sukkot, Shavuos, Pesach. V'od min hagenu l'harbos b'kroi beitz v'hogan lizar b'yoyser b'Rosh Hashanah shu yom adin l'krois kirich man b'nosar. The davening is long on Rosh Hashanah, and now the Bach is adding some like additional cherries on the cake, so to say. Right? That's the main point. That's the Bach's main point. Rosh Hashanah is a time of judgment. It's not a time that we should just spend hours and hours and hours stuffing our faces. Then says the Bach, by the way, also, you got to recite Shema in the proper time. You know, you have to fulfill the mitzvah of shofar. There's reason why I'm giving the mitzvahs. You don't want to delay. You don't want to do it early. So the Bach is throwing in these additional factors which determine and which affect as to why we should go to shul earlier. By the way, we should add in that nothing to do with Rosh Hashanah, but it says in the Chafetz Chaim's biography that he would close the lights of the base medrash around 11 o'clock at night. And he would say, time to go to bed. Because sometimes people stay up too late. It's going to affect them the next day. It's going to negatively affect the davening, what time they wake up, the learning also, midos, even the work, whatever they need to do. Person has to get enough sleep to get the day going early. So we have over here a situation of we need to do these things in the proper time. Okay, now the Bach is throwing something in. This is actually going to require us to spend some more time on this specific topic. A person needs to go quick to get out of shul before 6 halachic hours into the day. Now that itself is going to require more research. Okay? Getting out of shul before halachic midday, which we call chatzos. We're going to come back to that. I'm just throwing that out right now. And that explains the Bach is why the Torah says we get up early to go to shul. That's why we get up early.
This is every day Rosh Hashanah.
No, just Rosh Hashanah. Why do you think it is every day? Just Rosh Hashanah. We're talking shofar.
No, I'm saying Hatzos. I'm saying you gotta be out of shofar Hatzos on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, no. For sure, that's every single day. But this Bach is explaining the difference between other Yom Tovim and Rosh Hashanah as to why we go to shul earlier. You have the shofar, you have the Shema, you have all the time, but you have it's Yom Hadin, so you don't. Right, so everything we're saying, it's a day of judgment. It's a serious thing. Okay,
The Bach is saying that we should be.
You saying what?
The Bach says we should be out of shul by Hatzos.
Yeah, that's what the Bach is saying, but I said we're gonna tackle that more. That itself is gonna require more discussion.
Fine.
All right.
Yeah,
Famous
the
Simon
great
Reish.
Nate's minion.
Yeah, Basikin is what to talk about there. Yeah. Okay. Most people don't do that though. Okay. Bechem b'simin reish by aleph gabi
Yeah.
Shabbos b'simin taf reish chav gabi Yom Kippurim kosav gam kein shachus mashkim titanya hasam. All right. That's why it also says in Hilchos Yom Kippur, we get up early on Yom Kippur. Hilchos Yom Tov, as opposed to the halachas of Yom Tov, it clearly says Simin Taf Peiches. Look up all the Simon that he's quoting. You'll see what he's referring to. It says over there, you go to shul, but it doesn't say you get up early. The reason is because on the Shalosh Regalim, as we already said, we delay going to shul. As we said above, mitzvah to be involved with the preparations for the Sudan Yantif. Look at what I wrote in Siman Taf Reish Mem Dalid, the end of the halachas of Sukkah, in particular the Dalid Mina. Beautiful Bach to open up the Siman. The next Bach deals with the other obvious question which we already addressed on the Torah. Torah says that the Chazan, he repeats and he says Chazar Shashatz slowly, word for word, with proper intention. Afagav des harazo gam b'kol shar yemois Hashana. Ask the Bach, this applies every single day of the year. The Lel Simin Choflav Dalit, as it says in the halachas of Chazar Shashat Simin Choflav Dalit, Mikol Malkom keeping the kaim along to Rabbi Gamliel. We hold like Rabbi Gamliel at the end of the Gemara in Rosh Hashana and Lamed Hey. The betfilos Rosh Hashana of Yom Kippurim Mashiach Sibir Moti Afil Baki. That when it comes to the tefillos on Rosh Hashana, the Chazan has the ability to fulfill the obligation of even someone who is an expert. Well, das Rabbeinu, according to the Torah, happened tefillas yoitzer the Rosh Hashana. Okay, and I think comments have been tough kuf sadi alf. Could use an apply for yoitzer. Why specifically by Rosh Hashana the Chazan should be davening with proper intention and slowly, etc. V'zesha kosov. That's why the Torah says, top right corner, everyone should have intention and listen, aka even an expert. Conversely, unlike the rest of the year, that the Chazan only fulfills the obligation of someone who is not an expert. And the expert does not need to have the proper focus. Rosh Hashanah, everyone has to listen. The next and final Bach of the Simon deals with an interesting Mordechai. I want to go out of order and quote this in the Beis Yosef first. Beis Yosef quotes a Mordechai who says, Bnei Adam hachavushim bebeis asurim. Let's say you have prisoners, they are incarcerated in prison. Says the Mordechai, a tremendous chiddush and chumrah. Ein mevi'in etzlam sefer Torah afil Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. You can't bring them a sefer Torah even on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Brings a raya from the Yerushalmi. It's pretty surprising ruling. I remember when I first looked at the Simon, aka the Torah, the Bach, I never saw this before in my life. For a few days ago, I looked at it Erev Shabbos. Then I looked ahead over here, actually in this same exact spot, and I was scratching my head on this one a little bit. Saying, what is going on here? Why can't you bring them a sefer Torah? Guys are in prison. They have a minion, bring them a sefer Torah. So then a few moments later, when I learned the Bach, I said, beautiful. Comes along the Bach to the rescue again. The Bach quotes this Mordechai in short, and then he quotes the Maharam Mepadava, who argues on this. Not necessarily argues, but he b'medavar mamurims it. He says, no, this is in all cases that you don't bring the Sefer Torah to the prisoners. It's a double highlighted. The highlight in blue also on the right. What does that mean that you don't bring them a Torah? That means if you didn't designate from already before Rosh Hashanah on Aaron, something to put the Torah in, rather, what are you doing on Rosh Hashanah itself? You're bringing the Torah from another place and then laying in the other place. Right? If you're playing like musical Sefer Torahs on Rosh Hashanah, you're bringing it from one place to the prison, then you're going to bring it back. That's not good. That's something that is disgusting to the Sefer Torah. It's despicable. That you shouldn't do. And he says, look at the tshuva inside in Siman Peches. I didn't look it up, but this makes sense. I remember, must have been already 14 years ago. I'm with my mom, sisters. I don't know, I have no clue where. We visited somewhere to a former prison, which was now, it wasn't Alcatraz. I went there. I've been there. It was another prison, and it used to be used, and it wasn't used anymore. And they said, and this was the room that was used as a shul. And you had the Aron Kodesh there and everything. That type of situation, for sure, you could bring a Sefer Torah though. Okay? You have a set place where they dive and everything, you could. Talking about something else. You know, no one should ever be in prison in a perfect world. And I think one of the main reasons why Jews go to prison a lot of times, let's be honest with ourselves, is money related issues. Look, this world is far from perfect. This is called the world of sheker. A lot of things that are false, that are fake in this world. Anywhere you go, they try to charge you for something. They try to sell you something. They try to promote something that's asur. But I'm a strong believer that if people would get more familiar with the halachas of choshen mishpat, of money, there would be a lot less people in prison. I think in general, you look at people who are learning Torah, and you look at a list of, let's say, 10,000 people learning Torah properly, sitting in Kailo for years. How many of them know even a small amount of basic halachas about money? I would say the number is pretty low. Only people who know anything about money halachas are dayanim. That's about it. I think even a lot of rabbanim don't know much. Not saying that I do. Definitely know more than the average person, but I think if that would get more spread, we'd be in a better place in that regard. But anyways, let's go back to the base. Let's start with the base, Yosef. Talk about a little Avinu Malkeinu action over here. Beis Yosef says, Hagen B'Ksas Makaimas. Custom is in some places. We say Avinu Malkeinu. Why? Because of Kolbo. Right? One of my favorite Rishonim, the Kolbo. Shata Mishum de Garcina Beper Gimel de Tainius. Says the Gemara in Tainus. Pam achas kozru Tainios below nanu v'yod Rabbi Akiva of Neativ Ramer Avinu Malkeinu Chatono Levanechu. One time they decreed fast. No one was answered. Rabbi Akiva went down to daven, and he said those 4 words: Avinu Malkeinu Chatono Levanecha. Father, our King, we sinned before you. Immediately was answered. Miyanan. Once they saw that Rabbi Akiva's answer, they said, Avinu Malkeinu, we got to do it the whole Aseret Tshuva. So we see the importance of Avinu Malkeinu, and that's why we do it. Linearly, the Shara Bakash Shabim Avinu Malkeinu Imenu Rosh Hashana V'Alchatanu V'Rechav V'Chin Kukuyot B'Tavir Shin B'Chod B'Chin Loramim B'Tam Shein Umim Yevid Rosh Hashana. Seems like the other requests that we say in Avinu Malkeinu, we say in Rosh Hashanah. But this specific line of "we sinned before you," which has our admitting of our sin, we should not say because we don't do vidu, we don't confess in Rosh Hashanah. Hold it. Look down at that aleph over there. That goes straight to the Bach. My Zoom is getting a little messed up. Oh, here we go. Excuse me, that goes to the Darchei Moshe. The Darchei Moshe says 3 words: Ein hamino kidevarav. The custom is not this way, aka we would say Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanech.
On Rosh Hashanah?
That's according to the Darchei Moshe. That's right.
Understood. Okay.
Or it could be going on. Yeah, it's going on that, and yeah, we have to figure out exactly how is that not an issue of doing the vidui of confessing on Rosh Hashanah. We have to address that issue.
But we don't.
What'd you say, Okidok?
No, I just said I don't. We don't do Avinu Malkeinu
You
on
what?
Rosh Hashanah.
Wait,
As Ashkenazim, we don't do Avinu Malkeinu on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna continue learning about it.
we also have to we should speak about halacha l'mais as far as Rosh Hashanah falling, being on falling on Shabbos.
Oh, perfect. That's actually the next line of the Beis Yosef. V'kosav aran b'perek basra de Rosh Hashanah kishachal Rosh Hashanah li'oisa Shabbos ein noim emoisu when Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos you don't say Avinu Malkeinu. Harav b'Shimon bar Tzemach kosav b'tshuva amina gud loimer Avinu Malkeinu bein Rosh Hashanah bein b'Shabbos b'nei time. Oh, comes the tashbeitz that we would say Avinu Malkeinu, whether it's on Rosh Hashanah or if there's a Shabbos in between, you do it. B'Yom Kippurim, whether it's Yom Kippur, you would say Avinu Malkeinu. Tachlis and Mincha, you say it in the morning and at Mincha. Okay. Even though the Ran doesn't write this, he made a mistake with the custom of his place. Commercial Shamanu, Mitalmido, Pelapeliku from the Talmidim. Kol Elu Advarim Tuluyim B'Minhag. All this depends upon custom. V'Hamishana, excuse me, in Ruach Chachamim Noichi Yimenu, someone who changes the spirit of the Chachamim. The wise people are not happy with him. That is the story with the Avinu Malkeinu. There's a Darchei Moshe over here in Oz Beis who says that you should not say Avinu Malkeinu, like the Tashbeit says, in all those situations, on Rosh Hashanah, on Yom Kippur, Shabbos, not, you wouldn't. Then he says the Maharil writes that the custom is to have length, to be Mayrich B'Tfilas Rosh Hashanah ad Chatzos, to drag the davening out until Halachic Midday. That obviously requires more discussion because we just saw in the Bach around 13 minutes ago who said that you want to wrap up the davening before Halachic Midday. So obviously something is going on over here that we have to attempt to figure out.
What's up shot with the Bach? You shouldn't be, Batola. You shouldn't have, your thoughts just like any other day. How is it any different than any other day? You shouldn't drag out the feeling. That's what he's saying. Is the Bach say the same thing every day?
The Bach didn't say why. The Bach just says you want to finish before midday. All right.
Why?
Where did he say it over here? Remember where it was?
A little while ago.
Yeah, it was right over here. More than 13 minutes ago. It was like 25.
Yeah.
Where did he say it over here? Said it's somewhere in here. Suda, hey, Tov Lisanos Avagav. I was Basuda Lizar B'Yos Rosh Hashanah Shiyom Adin. Oh yeah. V'od Sarich Lemar Lot says Koidim Sheishalos. Right. This is why you wanted to start earlier. Because you got to get out before 6 halachic hours into the day. He didn't say why. That's the double highlight with the blue highlight over there on the left. He didn't say why. He just said you have to. I'll tell you my thoughts on this based on what I saw other posts can talk about. You can't fast on Rosh Hashanah. Okay? Half-day fast could be considered a fast. So what the post I'm going to say, you can take a drink of water before shachris, coffee, whatever, and then you get out of that issue. But, all right, we'll have to talk about that. Which is permissible to do. Right? You're allowed to drink before davening coffee or water. There is a Kaf HaChaim who says you shouldn't drink anything. Well, there's Fardim out there. Says you don't drink anything, even water, before davening. You should know most times I try to be machmi for that Kaf HaChaim. I'm usually not in a rush to drink. Why not? Why not? Ayin Sham and Simon Pei Tes. Interesting Kaf HaChaim over there. They made a
So
beautiful
how do
new
you,
print with the Kaf HaChaim, by the way. Kol hakavod to them. Old print was
so,
nasty. Too bad I bought
so how do
the
you,
old print, but at least digitally I have the new print. Anyways,
how do you
what?
not fast on Rosh Hashanah if you're not going to drink
Well,
beforehand?
if you're not going to
You have
drink
water,
before,
coffee.
yeah, you have water or coffee before Shachris. That's what we're saying.
I think the Kaf Chaim said you shouldn't.
Nah, he's talking about a
Morning,
regular
Glenn.
day. It's better not to, right? So you
Oh,
can't. It's hard to fill that Kaf HaChaim and go to a shul that's going to be going after Chatzos. You can't do both. You forget about the Kaf HaChaim
right.
that day. The
Okay,
Beis
that was my
Yosef over
question.
here says we do the Haftorah with Chana, like the Ran explains, because that's when it has to do with pregnancy, birth. That's the story over there. Lastly, the last Beis Yosef over here says on Rosh Hashanah we do the Mila, a bris Mila in between the laning and blowing of the shofar. Why? Trumas Hadeshin says that is the order. First, the bris of Avram, and then the Akeid of Yitzchak, aka the shofar. The Rokeach says that the reason is because the Shechina is by the Torah. That obviously requires more research. And we have to discuss crying on Rosh Hashanah during davening, crying in general. Should you not? Why? So this is the tour. Bach, Beis Yosef, Trisha, Prisha, Darchi, Moshe, Mitzvah, Hashem. Tomorrow we'll continue with the Shulchan Aruch.
Sure.
Fantastic. All
Rachim to
right,
you.
tomorrow live.
Tomorrow live, back in the Big Apple. Tomorrow live.